The Philadelphia Eagles announced today that they have signed their 2019 draft class to their first ever NFL contracts, and with that, they also announced the signing of 10 undrafted free agents. Now, a lot of people have been speculating who these players may be. There have been plenty of reports since the moment the draft has been finalised, but as often is with this kind of situation, there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes. The roster stands at 89 currently, and of course the limit is 90, which means there is still one undrafted player or a potential tradee or free agent signing who could be destined to join the Eagles between now and the beginning of preseason. But until then, these are the 10 undrafted free agents who have been signed by the team. The names you need to know about, the sleepers, the potential preseason standouts, and maybe, just maybe, a diamond in the rough. Before we get into breaking down this list though, guys, make sure you leave a like, hit subscribe and comment the undrafted free agent that you're most excited about heading into this offseason, with rookie minicamp getting underway this weekend. And don't forget, if you want your daily dose of Philadelphia sports coverage, head to phillysportsnetwork.com for content from myself and all of our writers. We're going to start with the big names, and the first one on the list is Joey Alfieri, a linebacker out of Stanford. And at 6'3", 239 pounds, Alfieri joins TJ Edwards as one of the prize pickings in this year's crop. With 165 tackles, 26.5 TFL, 14 sacks and 2 interceptions in 50 games, Alfieri solidified himself as a reliable starter during his time with the Cardinal, who amassed 37 tackles and 3.5 sacks in his final year. We know the Eagles aren't exactly inundated with linebacker depth right now, and someone like Alfieri, who wants to get down and dirty in the run game, who can penetrate into the backfield and shows great football awareness, could be a great pickup for this team and a name to watch as preseason draws near. While on that vein, it's only right that we talk about Wisconsin's TJ Edwards, and this is the player that fans were really excited about. It's surprising that Edwards wasn't drafted, especially given his level of production. With 112 tackles as a senior, he finished his career with 4 years of 80 plus stops. In his last 2 years alone, he combined for 22.5 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks, 7 picks, and 16 pass breakups. Now, if that doesn't scream NFL talent, I don't know what will. Edwards has a real shot at making this 53-man roster, and he's not the only one. But this linebacker battle is going to be intense. It's all going to be about speed and versatility. Can you be trusted to drop into coverage? Can you get sideline to sideline quickly? And I feel like Edwards would have a slight upper hand over Alfieri in that regard. But if they want a combination, they both bring different things to the table, and that is something we'll explore over the coming months in film rooms and that kind of thing. But it'll be very interesting to watch those guys duke it out. Next up, if you haven't noticed a Penn State bias yet with this team, you certainly will by the end of this video. The team have also signed offensive tackle Ryan Bates out of Penn State, and considered another steal by many. Bates showed his versatility by playing both ends of the bookshelf during his time at Penn State. Another Nittany Lion alumni, Bates helped a dominant rushing attack flourish and brings slightly more agile frame at 6'4", 302 pounds to the table, and an athletic profile with it. It wouldn't be surprising with that in mind to see him shift inside and compete for a potential depth guard role, given his surprising mobility and leaner frame. I spoke about this earlier today in an article highlighting Matt Pryor and what he's going to bring to the Eagles in 2019, because we don't know what the health status of Brandon Brooks is, and if Sayamalo's playing left, they need another starter at right guard, at least for the short term, and a backup as well. So watch out for Ryan Bates if they do move him inside. A lack of length could be a concern at the next level if he remains at tackle, but I think with his burst, hand placement and anchoring ability could really be a factor if he plays inside. Another player that fans have been excited about is running back Nikko Evans out of Wyoming. He averaged 132 yards per game on the ground, and that ranked 3rd in this year's draft class, dropping only behind Travion Williams and Darrell Henderson. He has the compact and burstful game that would fit the Eagles perfectly, and with 1,325 yards as a senior to go along with 8 touchdowns, it's safe to say that Evans has numbers to back up what you see on tape, which is a quick one-cut back, someone that can be effective in the receiving game, that's a willing pass protector. Yes, he's a diamond in the rough. I don't think we're going to see the level of production that we would out of Miles Sanders by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a guy that could certainly give Corey Clement or Wendell Smallwood some nightmares if given the opportunity to shine as training camp nears. The Eagles placed a real focus on the offensive line in this year's undrafted crop, and offensive guard Innate Herbig out of Stanford was one man that drew a lot of attention. He has a dominant frame at 6'3", 336 pounds, but like Matt Pryor, has a stunning amount of agility for his size. He's not the most consistent lineman and would often look a little out of it in comparison to his more urgent teammates, but when he's on, and you can see why the Eagles like him. He plays with a mean streak, has fierce hands and a very stout base, and plays with plenty of power. His anchoring ability is much more of a day 2 pick than an undrafted free agent, but it's the rest of it, it's the consistency piece that just isn't quite there yet for Herbig. This is a potential developmental candidate that would flourish under Jeff Stoutland, and someone that I think would stand out as a player to keep your eye on in the offseason to come. Another candidate in this offensive guard free-for-all is Sua Opeta out of Weber State. A former defensive tackle, this small school sleeper stands at 6'4", 305 pounds, and was named an FCS All-American in back-to-back seasons, starting every game in that span at left tackle. A dominant combine performer though, Opeta could benefit from adding some meat to his frame, which currently sits at 6'4", 301 pounds. And while he doesn't have the technical fundamentals as some of the other names in this list do, he has every other box ticked, and that is why he's been signed by the Eagles, and in my opinion, I think this guy could be a leading practice squad candidate. Sticking to that theme though, we're going to turn to Iowa center Keegan Render, 6'4", 307 pounds, and is versatile. He comes out of a pro-style offense, which is immediately a big green tick next to his name, and this is someone that's played both guard spots during his time at Iowa as well as flourishing at center. He's got frantically fast hand movement, and while his footwork can get away from him at times, he has the IQ and impressively maintains blocks consistently when in pass protection that is going to make the Eagles coaching staff purr. For now, we can group Render with the other linemen in this crop who'll be deking it out for backup roles, with versatility being the real ace up his sleeve here. Onto the defensive side of the trench, and we've got Anthony Rush out of UAB, yet another small school sleeper. He ended 2018 with 43 tackles, 11 for a loss and a pair of sacks, but this is someone that reminds me of a Brandon Mebane from the LA Chargers, a thick, space-eating defensive tackle. And make no mistake, this guy stands at 6'5", 350 pounds. Now, durability, consistency, endurance, all of those kind of flags that you get with an undrafted free agent are certainly a concern, especially as someone that burns out quickly. This isn't a Fletcher Cox, this isn't a Christian Wilkins, this isn't someone that's going to eat up those numbers and look amazing on the stat sheet. This is a space-eating defensive tackle, someone that's going to swallow up double and triple teams when you want your defensive ends to get to the quarterback, which is what the Chargers did with Mebane, with Ingram and Bosa. So given that the Eagles of course added Sharif Miller, they've got Derek Barnett, they've got Josh Sweat and Joe Ostman, maybe, just maybe, we could see Anthony Rush sneak on here as a depth role. Given that the Eagles already have Cox, Jernigan and Malik Jackson, that fourth role is up for grabs, and if you can get a space eater that's going to allow someone like Malik Jackson, who's a bit lighter, and those defensive ends to feast, this is going to be a very, very intense offseason. Second defensive tackle added was another local kid. It was Kevin Wilkins out of Rutgers. He ended 2018 with 50 tackles after starting every game on the outside. Now, that's interesting because, of course, he is a defensive tackle. So at 6'2", 304 pounds, he's got a slightly leaner frame and is a more burstful lineman with good hands and an explosive first step. It's going to be down to Philip Daniels to harness the rest of that potential and see if he can too maybe sneak onto that practice squad. And if the Penn State bias wasn't enough, they brought on a wide receiver. Now, this is someone they really fell in love with at the pro day. DeAndre Thompkins, who was not only a special teams ace for Penn State, who had 66 returns for 674 yards, he also had a 443 yard season in 2017. But the main thing here is he's a slot guy at 5'11" that has return potential. He's had a punt return touchdown in each of his last 2 seasons. The Eagles need to find someone maybe behind Deshaun Jackson to fill that role, and I think Thompkins has a real shoe-in to at least put his cat among the pigeons and see what happens. The Eagles like the fact that he's a slightly smaller, more compact receiver, very reminiscent, I dare to say, of Paul Turner, that has that electric skill set, that can leap up and at least try and make an effort on the ball. He's not the crispest route runner, he's not going to create separation with ease at the line of scrimmage. He's physical enough during the stem of the route to at least give himself a chance to make some plays in preseason. But that just about does it for this year's crop of free agents so far, guys. Who are you interested to see play during training camp and preseason? Let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like and hit subscribe if you're new around here. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll see you next time.
Zeig, dass du jetzt Lied, Bro.